morning, everyone. Hello, welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, welcome back if you've been before. Lovely to have you either way on this channel. We talk books. Today I am recording a vlog. Perhaps you can hear in my still slightly croaky voice, I have been unwell all week. So I am recording this the Saturday before I intend for it to go out, which is tomorrow, Sunday. So we'll see if we can get this. If you're watching this, you will know I have successfully recorded a reading vlog for Saturday. So yeah, it is Saturday the 26th. Yes, Saturday the 26th of October, and I am recovering from being unwell. Sorry, my hair's a bit hectic this morning. You will have seen the footage of me making my cup of tea. Feeling good, feeling better. So I thought today I would hopefully get some reading done. So I thought I would show you what I'm currently reading, where I'm up to with things, and let you know what I'm planning to do for the day, and we'll see if those plans come off or not. So the first book, and I'm just looking, it's being squished. I was going to show you this, but that's not very helpful to you because it doesn't have the cover on it. It's this one. Let me just pretend that has been on the entire time. So the first book that I'm currently reading is A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. This is the Macmillan Collectors Library edition. Let me take the cover off now. It's fussy to have a dust jacket on when you're actively using it, although it probably would have prevented some of this dust from getting on the cover. It's a bit ASMR. I don't know if that sounds nice or not. Also, I don't have a microphone, a special microphone set up here. Anyway, I am almost finished this book. I've only got about 30 pages to go, and I am loving it. It is fantastic. So essentially, this is an essay, although from the way that it's presented, it feels like it was a speech that she gave, like the writing down of a speech that she gave. It doesn't specifically say, but it'd be interesting to know. Anyway, the blurb of the book says, in this extraordinary essay, Virginia Woolf examines the limitations of womanhood in the early 20th century, because it was 1929 that this first was published. With the startling prose and poetic license of a novelist, she makes a bid for freedom, emphasising that the lack of an education and independent income and the titular room of one's own prevents most women from reaching their full literary and intellectual potential. And it says, as relevant in its insight and in indignation today as it was when first published. Hard agree. A Room of One's Own remains both a beautiful work of literature and an incisive analysis of women and their place in the world. So I am very much enjoying reading this, and I'm very much looking forward to getting it done, hopefully today. I'm reading this for a book club, and boy am I glad that I picked it up, because it is definitely giving me a lot to think about, and I am very much enjoying it. So yeah, you can see I have been tabbing it. So that's just getting ready for the chat with the book club. Some really interesting little lines, etc. And yeah, some really interesting arguments that she gives too. So yeah, that's the first one that I have been reading, and I'm hoping to actually get done today. Another book I'm reading for a book club is this one, which is Chronicles of a Cairo Bookseller by Nadia Wassef. This is the one I'm reading for my Reading Around the World book club, where we try to read a book from every country over a very, very long period of time. This is Egypt, although I have just discovered that because I'm I've read the introduction and chapter 1 of the book, the prologue in chapter 1, and I don't know where I read it. Maybe I've read it online, but I just discovered that she is actually not. She's from Egypt and she lived there for most of her life, but she now lives in the UK. So, I mean, yeah. Anyway, we generally try to choose an author who is like actively living in the country, but I guess depending on what country it is and like what the situation is there, that might not be possible. And also, you know, for example, in a situation where you have like a group of people in a country that are being persecuted, maybe reading something from someone who is no longer in the country might be a good idea. Anyway, I'm not sure yet what the situation is here, but this is non-fiction, and it is essentially a book about, so the author is one of 3 women who were sort of like the founders of a bookstore chain in Egypt. They set up in 2002, and they created a type of bookshop that was not really prevalent in Egypt, and so it's so far has been quite interesting just in terms of hearing about like some of the challenges that they had in setting things up, etc. When they were doing this, and like the research that they did into the system and like what was kind of preventing positive change in the literary scene in Egypt. So anyway, it's been interesting so far, but I'm only, as I said, a chapter in, so I'm up to page 34. I should say as well, for A Room of One's Own, I'm up to page 120. So that's where we're up to. So we'll give the starting points for all of these so that we can see how far we've gone. So those are the 2 that are currently reading. I do also have other books I'm currently reading, but they're the ones I'm actively reading right at this minute. And I don't actively have an audiobook at the moment. So I thought, because we are heading towards the spookiest part of October, that it would be a great time for me to begin Wyrd Sisters by Terry Pratchett. So I'm going to be listening to the audiobook version of this actually on Spotify, because I have not listened to any, look at my, yeah, here we go, Wyrd Sisters. So I haven't used any of my hours yet for Spotify. So this one is, and because the last Witches book I read on audiobook in the same manner, was narrated by the same people, and it was really good. So it's narrated by Indira Varma, Peter Serafinowicz, and Finowitz? I'm never sure how to say his surname, and Bill Nye. So yeah, it says brought to you by Penguin, so I don't know if that's helpful in terms of finding if you're looking for it yourself. But essentially, Indira Varma is the main narrator. Peter Serafinowicz is doing he does the voice of Death, and Bill Nye reads any of the like footnotes. So the most of it is narrated by, well, this is what that was the case with the last one that I listened to. Most of it's narrated by Indira, what is her name? Indira Varma. I just got my, it's the morning, just give me a minute, I'm still in my pajamas. Sorry to those people whose names I probably said completely incorrectly. Anyway, Wyrd Sisters is part of the Discworld, Terry Pratchett's Discworld, and it is also the second book in the, so within the Discworld, there are sort of like sub-series. So of the Witches sub-series, this is the second book, and I am attempting to read through the five It's either 5 or 6 books in that Witches series of Discworld. The only other Discworld book that I've read was Going Postal, which is not part of that sub-series. It's not exactly a standalone, but I read it as a standalone. I really loved it. And I really enjoyed the first book from the Witches sub-series as well. So yeah, I enjoyed it very much. So the one that I have read already is Equal Rights, and as I said, this one is Weird Sister. So anyway, I thought this would be a good audiobook to pick up for those moments when I want something to listen to. I don't want to be reading with my eyeballs. But those are the 3 books that I am planning. I'll just give you the cover without the book inside. The 3 books I'm planning to have a look at today. So we'll see how far we get with these. Obviously I have not started this one, so I am on page 0. But yeah, we'll check in as the day goes on. I also have a little puzzle so yesterday I visited my sister, and she had a puzzle that had been on the go at her house for far too long, and she's like, while we're talking, you have a go, and if it tickles your brain, you can finish the puzzle, because otherwise, if you don't want to do it, this puzzle is getting collapsed and I'm getting rid of it today. So she's had enough. It's down to the I'll show you when we get to the puzzle, but it's down to the really itty bitty bits of the puzzle where it's pieces that the pattern looks really the same, and you're kind of just looking for the shape of the puzzle piece to find what fits there rather than the pattern. So yeah, that's where we're at. So I have a difficult, it did itch my brain in a way that my brain wanted to be itched. So I have brought home the puzzle from her house on her puzzle board, and I'm going to attempt to finish the puzzle today. So that's the other plan for today, is finishing a puzzle. So 3 books. Let's see if I get distracted and pick up a different book. We'll see. Or if I'm able to stay focused and work on those 3 books today. So yeah, that's the plan. And I will catch up with you when I have started to implement the plan. But meanwhile, I'm going to continue having my cup of tea and maybe pick up probably A Room of One's Own to start with, because I'm really enjoying it so much and I am keen to get it done today. So if I can read the last, I think there's only about 20-30 pages to go. So if I can get those 30 pages done, I'll be very pleased. I finished. Yeah, I loved it. I feel like this might be a 5-star, and it might be something that could maybe be one of my favourite books that I've read this year. I loved it. I don't know that I necessarily agree with every single conclusion she comes to, but she definitely had some really important insights into what the circumstances are that make it possible to write a good book, and to actually do that. And essentially it's privilege. Essentially. Yeah. But I loved this. This was great. I'm so glad I read it. Check in on where we're up to with the puzzle, and then listening to Weird Sisters. Hello. It's now night time. 9:05 p.m. I have not checked in as often as I had planned to check in through the day, but that is because I have been sitting at my puzzle, which you would have seen some footage of, and listening to the audiobook for Wyrd Sisters, and I got quite involved in what I was doing. So it's for a good reason that I didn't check in. So I have made it a fair way through, and checking back with the physical book, rather than looking at minutes and hours, because my brain does not work that way. I am up to page 173. So I'm going from 0 to 173. So I've made it a fair way through the book, and overall there are 297 pages. So I'm over halfway now, which is very exciting. I am really enjoying this so far. I don't know that I'm enjoying it as much as I enjoyed the previous one, Equal Rights, but I am very much enjoying being back in the world of Discworld and being with the character of Granny Weatherwax, and meeting some of the other witches this time around, because I don't believe they were in the previous one. So it's Nanny Og and Magret, I think is the name of the other one. Yeah, loving the dynamic between the three of them, how they sort of all vaguely tolerate each other, and sort of working that way. I'm enjoying the storyline. Yeah, it's fun. I don't think this is going to be a 5-star book, but I'm having a good time. So I'm very, very pleased with that. And I'm pleased with the progress that I have made. I've already updated you to say that I finished A Room of One's Own, which was good. That was something I definitely wanted to get done today, so I'm glad that that happened. I have now put my thoughts up on the bookish social media, and I have decided to give it 5 stars. I really enjoyed this, and I just thought it was such a relevant, despite the fact that it was published in 1929, such a relevant thing to read. And I think it can equally apply to anyone who's not in a privileged position. So whether that is someone who is not privileged because of their family background, whether that's their wealth, whether it's their gender, whether it's their sexual orientation. People who have less capacity, less privilege, are always going to find it harder to have the time, the space, the education, and all of those things to be able to write a masterpiece or be a great thinker in any domain. Like, you know, if you can get there, despite not being at the top of the privilege pyramid, well done you, because you have definitely overcome a lot of obstacles to get there. So, you know, I think it's such an interesting book, and still so relevant today. And, you know, because there are people who genuinely still believe that the reason that most of our, at least Western canon of writers being heterosexual white males is because they're better. There are people who think that, who still think that. So, you know, I think this, I enjoyed reading this because it really laid bare all of those, the assumptions that underlie that kind of thinking. And I think it ended in a hopeful way, you know, in terms of looking forward to the future. And like, if you look at, I know at least in Australia and in other countries whose publishing industries I am more familiar with, I know for a fact that there are far more women writers than there were back in Virginia Woolf's day, for sure. And people who have been able to overcome, you know, and to find the space and to overcome those barriers to writing. So it's amazing that things have changed, but then at the same time, in other ways, they haven't at all. So yeah, I loved this. It was so great. Definitely, I can see this being a contender for being one of my favourite books of this year so far. So we'll have to wait and see if anything else surprises me as the year goes on. Okay, I did not read anything from Chronicles of a Cairo Bookseller. Perhaps before I go to bed tonight I will, but I'm going to close off the vlog here. Thank you very much for watching. Very pleased with the progress that I've made on these two, finishing this one and making heaps of progress through Wyrd Sisters, and also the progress I've made on the puzzle. I'm not going to finish it today. There is time required to find the pieces, but basically the hole in the middle of the puzzle is slowly closing, and at some point I will finish it. But that will not be today. Perhaps tomorrow, we'll see. Alright, thank you so much for watching and for spending a bit of time with me today. Apologies that the updates were a little bit light on for this vlog, but I hope you understand that it is because I was engrossed in a book, and that's the reason that there were less of the updates than were originally planned. And also because I stuck to reading one book rather than jumping between. So that's interesting. That's interesting for me. Alright, thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye!